The overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi's tyranny in 2011 is celebrated annually in Libya with a national holiday known as Liberation Day. For 42 years, Gaddafi had dominated Libya, engaging in wars with other countries and restricting the rights and freedoms of his own people. A revolution ensued in Libya that was motivated by the Arab Spring phenomenon, which characterized anti-government demonstrations throughout the Arab region. The revolutionaries, aided by NATO and other nations, apprehended and executed Gaddafi on October 20, 2011. 3 days later, they proclaimed the liberation of Libya. On Libya Liberation Day, the bravery and selflessness of the Libyan people who fought for their democracy and freedom are honored for having earned this holiday.
This is the Sundeep Show.
On the 1st of September 1969, Gaddafi led a group of young army officers in a bloodless coup d'etat against King Idris of Libya, who was receiving medical treatment in Turkey at the time. This allowed Gaddafi to seize control of Libya. The Free Officers Movement, led by Gaddafi and his allies, seized power and overthrew the monarchy and the previous constitution. With Gaddafi at the helm of the Revolutionary Command Council (RCC), they founded the Libyan Arab Republic. Gaddafi stated that the people of Libya supported his coup because the previous government had abandoned the ideals of the 1951 Libyan independence struggle. He also stated that he desired to free Libya from the dominance of other nations and establish a state that was socialist and pan-Arab. Most Libyans were unhappy with the king's rule and welcomed the change. Gaddafi was seen as a fellow nationalist, an anti-imperialist leader in several other Arab countries, including Egypt and Syria, which contributed to his rise to power in those countries. Gaddafi, however, was quickly met with hostility from several parts of Libyan society, including Islamists, Berbers, and Cyrenaians, who felt excluded or persecuted by his policies. Gaddafi also had to contend with threats from abroad, including the United States, Israel, and several European countries, all of which accused him of aiding terrorists and contributing to regional instability. Gaddafi controlled Libya for 42 years before being deposed and executed by rebel forces in 2011 as part of the Arab Spring Rebellion and NATO intervention. During his more than 4 decades in control, Gaddafi was accused of committing numerous atrocities and violations of human rights. The bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland in December 1988 was one of the most heinous atrocities linked with Gaddafi's rule. There were 259 people on the plane who died, plus 11 people on the ground. In 2003, Gaddafi's government acknowledged that they were responsible for the bombing and agreed to compensate the families of those who had been killed. International sanctions were imposed on Libya as a result of this act's widespread condemnation.
You're listening to the Sundeep Show.
The regime, led by Gaddafi, was notorious for its repressive measures against political dissent and opposition. People who were against the regime were tortured, killed without a trial, and disappeared without a trace by his widespread and cruel security machinery. The 1996 Abu Salim prison massacre, which killed hundreds of political detainees, is a striking example of extreme savagery. When the people of Libya rose up against Gaddafi's government in 2011, Gaddafi's forces responded violently and harshly. Mass killings, indiscriminate bombardment of civilian areas, and the employment of mercenaries were all documented. The revolt was supported by an international coalition led by NATO, which ultimately resulted in the overthrow of Gaddafi's government. Following the end of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, the Libyan economy was confronted with considerable obstacles. Prior to the assassination of Gaddafi, Libya was a popular destination for African migrants due to the country's vast oil riches, which supported a robust economy and a large number of work opportunities. But after Gaddafi was ousted, all that collapsed. The 10 years after Gaddafi's fall have been unstable in terms of politics, safety, and the economy. Ongoing violence, including frequent escalations in conflict and political paralysis, have created a governance vacuum, which in turn has resulted to serious problems with security, the rule of law, and the economy. Following the intervention of NATO in 2011, Libya descended into the status of a failed state, and its economy is in ruins. As militia fighters gained authority over the situation while the government's control slipped through their fingertips, oil production virtually ceased. The reconstruction endeavor encountered setbacks a number of years subsequent to Gaddafi's demise, propelled by an ample provision of weaponry and unemployed youth, resulting from the nation's devastated economy ravaged by war. The transitional authorities had to fight with a large number of armed organizations that had either spontaneously arisen in the wake of the revolt or evolved as a direct result of the rebellion itself. Libya's economy experienced a substantial contraction in the period immediately following Gaddafi's demise as a result of political instability and conflict. The political atmosphere in Libya is paralyzed and volatile at the moment. In 2014, the oil-rich country was essentially torn in two by rival armies in the east and west. The transfer of power to a new interim government of national unity, GNU, in the preceding year sparked optimism regarding the restoration of stability and the integration of the nation's institutions. However, a fresh power battle has sparked concerns about greater instability, including the reintroduction of parallel governments and the possibility of an armed conflict. Libya is still struggling to establish governmental institutions and put an end to its bloody conflict. Long-standing rivalries between different factions, tribes, and ethnic groupings are reflected in many local conflicts. Outsiders have made Libya's problems worse by sending money and weapons to agents who have put their own needs ahead of those of the Libyan people. Libya's borders are still open, especially in the southern Fezzan, which makes it easier for illegal goods, including guns, to be trafficked and smuggled. The country is currently grappling with the issue of widespread displacement.
This is the Sundeep Show.
This displacement makes it difficult to register voters and participate in other facets of public life. Healthcare facilities and educational institutions around the country have been destroyed. Sustained transitional justice issues have the potential to impede the achievement of long-term peace and stability in Libya. Inconsistent and often brutal law enforcement procedures and treatment of convicts in correctional facilities have emerged from the growing presence of non-state armed organizations and their co-optation of traditional security agencies. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Sundeep August. This is the Sundeep August Show. Hope survives, even the worst of times. The international community has provided assistance and support. After the recent floods, rescue workers have been working non-stop to locate survivors and recover bodies. In addition, the people of Libya have demonstrated a remarkable capacity for perseverance in the face of hardship. Their courage and resolve to restore their homeland are admirable. There is hope for a better future for Libya despite the fact that the road to recovery may be lengthy and filled with problems. If support and effort are maintained, there is a chance for a brighter future. Bear in mind that the darkest hour precedes the dawn.
This is the Sundeep Show.